You've felt it, haven't you? That quiet, creeping sense that your mind isn't as sharp as it used to be. You read something twice and still don't remember it. You start a task with clarity and somehow end up scrolling through nothing. You know what you should do. You've seen the advice 100 times, and yet you don't do it. And the worst part, you blame yourself. You think maybe you're losing it. Maybe you're not as intelligent as you thought. Maybe something's fundamentally wrong with you. But here's what nobody's saying. You're not stupid. You're not broken. Your mind isn't failing. It's being sabotaged. You're living inside a system that fragments your attention, drains your emotional energy, and interrupts the one thing that makes thinking actually possible: continuity. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how this happens so quietly that you start believing the problem is you when it isn't. The environment you're navigating every single day is making intelligent people behave like fools, not because they lack capacity, not because they're lazy, but because modern life has become structurally incompatible with coherent thought. Here's the thing that makes this so disorienting. You're not failing because you don't know enough. You're failing because you know too much, and none of it has time to settle. You've consumed more information in the last month than your grandparents did in a year, and yet you can't remember what you read yesterday. You've got the intelligence. You've got the awareness. What you don't have is the mental space to let any of it actually land. Smart people today aren't undone by ignorance. They're undone by noise, constant, low-grade, everywhere noise, the kind that doesn't feel violent but quietly dismantles your ability to think past the surface. You're not dumber than you were 5 years ago. You're just living in an environment that makes deep thinking functionally impossible. And the brutal irony? The more you try to fix it by learning more, optimizing more, consuming more content about focus and clarity, the worse it gets. Because the problem isn't what you're doing, it's what's being done to you. So if you've ever felt capable but strangely powerless, sharp but inexplicably stuck, this is for you. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you isn't another productivity hack. It's the reason the hacks never worked in the first place. So let's start with the first trap. And it's more subtle than it looks. You think you're learning, but you're just collecting. Every day you scroll through insights, save articles, bookmark threads, screenshot quotes. You feel productive doing it. You feel like you're growing. But here's what's actually happening. Your brain is being trained to skim, not to absorb, to recognize, not to understand, to nod along, not to integrate. Information used to be scarce, now it's infinite. And your mind, which evolved to hold on to rare and valuable knowledge, doesn't know what to do with this much input. So it does the only thing it can. It lets most of it slide right through. You're exposed to more ideas in a week than a medieval scholar encountered in a lifetime, and yet you can't remember a single thing you read last Tuesday. That's not a memory problem. That's a saturation problem. Real learning requires something the modern world has made almost extinct: time to think about what you just learned. Time to let it settle. Time to turn it over in your mind until it connects with something you already know. But you don't get that time, because the moment you finish one thing, the algorithm serves you the next, and the next, and the next. So you end up in this strange loop where you feel informed but can't act on it. You know things, but they don't change you. You consume wisdom like it's entertainment, and then wonder why your life looks exactly the same. In a few minutes, you'll see why this feels productive, and why it quietly guarantees nothing changes. The illusion isn't that you're learning nothing. The illusion is that exposure equals understanding, that seeing something is the same as integrating it. It's not. And the gap between what you've seen and what you've actually absorbed is where your sense of clarity goes to die. You're not stupid for feeling confused. You're overwhelmed. And there's a difference. Now let's talk about what happens to your actual thinking when attention gets shredded into pieces. You sit down to work on something that matters, something that requires depth, and within minutes, maybe seconds, you feel the pull. check your phone, glance at a notification, open a new tab. You tell yourself it's just a quick break, but here's what your brain just experienced: an interruption. And interruptions don't just pause thinking, they shatter it. Notice what happens in your body when you get interrupted. That slight tension, that urge to escape the discomfort. Real thought isn't a light switch, it's a slow build. You need to hold an idea in your mind long enough for it to develop branches, connections, implications. That takes time. It takes uninterrupted time. The kind of time where you're bored for a bit, where your mind wanders and then snaps back sharper, where silence isn't uncomfortable, it's fertile. But modern life has structurally removed that silence. Every app, every platform, every device is engineered to fracture your attention into the smallest profitable units. Not because anyone hates you, but because fragmented attention is easier to monetize. You're not choosing distraction. You're living inside a landscape designed to make sustained focus almost physiologically difficult. And here's the kicker: you can't think deeply in bursts. You can't do it in 5-minute pockets between meetings. You can't do it while half listening to a podcast or with your phone face down on the desk, radiating possibility. Deep thinking requires you to be alone with an idea long enough to feel stupid, stuck, and then finally clear. But when was the last time you had that? When was the last time you sat with one thought for an hour without reaching for a screen, without filling the silence? Most people can't remember. And that's not laziness, that's conditioning. You've been trained to fear the very thing your intelligence needs most: uninterrupted mental space. And without it, you're not thinking, you're reacting. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable, and where most people drop off if they're not ready. You've read the books, listened to the podcasts, seen the frameworks. You understand the logic perfectly, and yet you don't do it. Why? Because behavior isn't driven by what you know. It's driven by how you feel in the moment you have to act. And if you're emotionally drained, physically tense, or mentally exhausted, your body overrides your brain every single time. Logic doesn't stand a chance against a nervous system that's running on fumes. You wake up with intentions, clear ones. But by midday, after 17 small decisions, 3 difficult emails, and a dozen emotional microtransactions with the world, you're not the same person who set those intentions. You're depleted, and a depleted person doesn't choose the hard thing. They choose relief, comfort, escape, not because they're weak, but because their system is screaming for regulation. This is why you can watch a video about discipline and feel inspired, then 2 hours later find yourself doing the exact thing you said you wouldn't. It's not hypocrisy, it's biology. Your state dictates your behavior, and your state is shaped by everything you've been exposed to since you opened your eyes. The modern world keeps you in a constant state of low-grade activation, notifications, news, opinions, outrage, comparison. It all registers as micro-threats, and your body responds accordingly. You're not relaxed, you're not calm, you're simmering. And when you're simmering, you don't have access to your prefrontal cortex, the part of you that makes intentional decisions. You have access to your limbic system, the part that just wants the feeling to stop. So you scroll, you snack, you avoid, not because you're undisciplined, but because discipline requires a regulated nervous system. And yours hasn't been regulated in years. You're not acting stupid, you're acting survival, and there's a massive difference. That's the first half of the problem. The second half is harder to see. Now let's talk about the most dangerous phrase in modern self-improvement. I already know that. You've heard it before, read it before, seen the concept packaged 10 different ways, so you scroll past it, dismiss it, move on to the next thing that feels new, that feels fresh, that gives you the little dopamine kick of discovery. But here's what's actually happening. You're confusing familiarity with mastery, recognition with transformation. You think because you've encountered an idea, you've integrated it. You haven't. Knowing about something and being changed by something are not the same thing. You can know that sleep matters and still stay up scrolling. You can know that deep work requires focus and still check your phone every 6 minutes. You can know that presence beats productivity and still feel guilty every time you're not optimizing something. The gap between knowing and doing isn't ignorance. It's repetition without application. It's consuming wisdom like it's content. And content doesn't change you, it just passes through you. This is why people can read 50 books on habits and still have the same habits. Why they can watch 100 videos on focus and still feel scattered. They're not learning, they're spectating, and the modern content economy rewards exactly that. It rewards passive consumption disguised as personal growth. You're not supposed to just understand the idea. You're supposed to sit with it until it makes you uncomfortable, until it confronts something in you, until you either reject it completely or let it rewire how you see yourself. But that takes time, stillness, reflection. And the algorithm doesn't reward reflection, it rewards the next click. So you end up trapped in this bizarre cycle, constantly exposed to transformative ideas never actually transformed. You've got the map, you've studied the territory, but you're still standing in the same place, wondering why nothing's changed. And the answer is brutal. You never stopped consuming long enough to let anything land. Here's the part that makes this so insidious. The world isn't just distracting you. It's rewarding you for being distracted. Think about what gets attention online, what goes viral, what gets shared, liked, commented on. It's not nuance, it's not depth, it's reaction, it's outrage, it's the hottest take, the fastest comeback, the most extreme position delivered in the least amount of time. Speed beats substance, emotion beats accuracy. And if you can make someone feel something in 3 seconds, you win. So what does that train you to do? It trains you to think fast, not deep, to react, not reflect, to have an opinion before you have understanding. And the more you do it, the more your brain starts to default to that mode. You become someone who skims for ammunition instead of reading for comprehension. Someone who jumps to conclusions because waiting feels like losing. Someone who performs certainty even when you feel confused. You're not stupider than you used to be. You're just optimized for a different game. And that game rewards behaviors that look a lot like stupidity. Impulsivity, reactivity, superficiality, defensiveness. The platforms know this. They're not designed to make you thoughtful. They're designed to keep you engaged. And engagement doesn't come from calm, considered reflection. It comes from agitation, from the feeling that you need to respond right now, before the moment passes, before someone else says it first. So you're caught in this loop where the behaviors that get rewarded externally are the exact ones that erode you internally. You get likes for being loud, shares for being extreme, dopamine for being fast. And slowly, without realizing it, you become less capable of the thing that actually matters, sitting with complexity long enough to form a thought that's truly yours. You're not broken, you're just playing a rigged game. And the prize for winning is becoming exactly the kind of thinker you never wanted to be. And here's what happens when you live like that long enough. You stop choosing, you start defaulting, you don't decide to scroll at night. Your hand just reaches for the phone. You don't decide to skip the thing that matters. You just feel too tired and do something easier. You don't decide to react emotionally to a comment online. It just happens. And you're already typing before you realize what you're doing. This is what losing agency actually looks like. It's not dramatic. It's not a single moment where you give up control. It's 1,000 tiny moments where your behavior is guided by impulse, habit, and exhaustion instead of intention. And the worst part, you don't even notice it happening until you look back and realize you've spent years living on autopilot. Your decisions aren't yours anymore. They belong to whatever's loudest, easiest, or most immediately satisfying. Your attention goes wherever the notification pulls it. Your time gets filled by whatever expands to fill it. Your energy drains into whatever creates the most friction. And you tell yourself it's fine, that you'll get back on track tomorrow. that this is just a phase. But tomorrow you wake up in the same system, with the same triggers and the same exhausted nervous system. So you make the same choices, not because you want to, but because deciding requires energy you don't have. This is the quiet tragedy of modern life. People who are capable of extraordinary things, living in a fog of reactivity. Not because they lack potential, but because their entire environment is structured to keep them too overstimulated, too fragmented, too drained to access that potential. You're not lazy. You're not weak-willed. You're not failing at discipline. You're trying to make intentional decisions inside a system designed to eliminate intention. And until you see that clearly, you'll keep blaming yourself for a problem that was never really yours to begin with. This is where everything flips. The solution isn't more, it's less. You've been trying to fix this by adding things. Another app for focus, another course on productivity, another framework for getting your life together. And every single one of them makes the problem worse. Because the problem isn't that you're missing something. The problem is that you have too much input, too much stimulation, too many options, too many voices, too many things demanding a piece of your attention at all times. Your mind isn't a container that needs to be filled. It's a system that needs space to function. And right now, it's suffocating. Clarity doesn't come from optimization. It comes from elimination. You don't need a better morning routine. You need to stop filling every moment with content. You don't need a new note-taking system. You need to stop consuming information you'll never use. You don't need more discipline. You need to remove the things that are quietly draining it every single day. This is the hardest thing for people to accept because subtraction feels like losing, like you're missing out, like you're falling behind. But here's the truth. The people who seem the clearest, the most focused, the most effective, they're not doing more than you. They're doing less. And they're doing it with intention. They're not smarter. They're not more disciplined. They're just not drowning in noise. Think about the last time you felt genuinely clear. Not productive, not busy, clear. Chances are you weren't in the middle of your normal routine. You were on a walk, on a trip, somewhere without Wi-Fi, somewhere the noise couldn't reach you. And for a moment you could actually think, that's not a vacation feeling. That's what your baseline is supposed to be. And you can't get there by adding more structure. You get there by cutting out everything that's keeping you fragmented. Less stimulation, less input, less everything. That's where your mind comes back online. So let's redefine what intelligence actually is, because somewhere along the way, we got it completely wrong. We started treating intelligence like a hard drive. The more information you store, the smarter you are. The more books you've read, the more podcasts you've heard, the more concepts you can name drop in conversation. That's what counts, right? No, that's not intelligence. That's trivia. Real intelligence is coherence. It's the alignment between what you think, what you feel, and what you do. It's not about how much you know. It's about whether your knowledge actually translates into how you live. And most people, no matter how smart they are, have completely lost that thread. You can understand every cognitive bias and still fall for them. You can know the science of habit formation and still repeat the same patterns. You can articulate exactly what's wrong with your life and still do nothing about it, because knowing isn't enough, feeling isn't enough. It's the connection between the three that matters, and modern life has severed that connection. Your thoughts are pulled in one direction by information overload. Your emotions are yanked in another by constant stimulation. Your actions are dictated by whatever's easiest in the moment. There's no through line, no continuity, no sense of a self that's steering the ship. You're just reacting to inputs all day, every day, and calling it living. Intelligence isn't what you can recall. It's what you can sustain. It's being able to hold a thought long enough to feel it, to let it move you, to let it reshape how you act. That's the loop: thought, emotion, action. And when those three are aligned, you don't feel scattered anymore. You feel solid. You feel like yourself. Not because you learned something new, but because you finally stopped long enough to let what you already know actually matter. That's not accumulation, that's integration, and it's the only thing that actually makes you smarter. So here's what this comes down to. Lucidity isn't about having more. It's about recovering what's been taken from you, continuity, the ability to follow a thought to its end, to feel something and let it inform what you do next, to act from intention instead of impulse. That's what modern life has fractured, and that's what you need back. You're not broken, you're not losing your mind. You're living in a system designed to keep you reactive, scattered, and just functional enough to keep going. And the moment you see that clearly, you can start opting out. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. One small subtraction at a time. If this named something you've been feeling but couldn't explain, stay. There's more here. Subscribe if you want to keep thinking clearly in a world that profits from your confusion. And share this with someone who's sharp, capable, but somehow stuck, because clarity doesn't spread through noise. It spreads through resonance. Real intelligence isn't loud, it doesn't need to be, it just needs space to breathe. And once you give it that, everything else starts to fall into place. Not perfectly, but coherently. And that's all you ever needed.